It's 124 days till the man burns, and today we're talking about couples and how your relationship is going to survive Burning Man. Because there seems to be some kind of Burning Man curse on relationships. It's so strong that the official Burning Man survival guide includes a part about relationships. So you should definitely check that out if you're going as a couple. I'll link it in the description box. But here are some of my tips for how to survive as a couple. My number one tip is communication before, during, and after. One of the biggest problems that couples have is they go into it with different expectations. Maybe one of you thinks that you're going to be joined at the hip for the whole thing, and the other one doesn't think that. And if you don't discuss it beforehand, it can end up with the person who thinks that you're going to be like glue the whole time, feeling a bit abandoned because they want to spend every minute of every day with you and you don't want to do the same thing with them. So it's best to get that out of the way in the beginning so that you are both going into it on the same page and it's not going to come up. During Burning Man, it's best not to bottle things up. I know that sometimes in the real world, maybe you get a bit angry with your partner and they're like, hey, what's wrong? Have I upset you? And you're like, no, everything's fine. Why would I be upset? Burning Man's not really the place for that. If something is wrong to the point where your partner has noticed, tell them what it is. Tell them what they've done to upset you. When you're doing that kind of stuff, you're kind of ruining Burning Man a bit for your partner because now, instead of just enjoying the fun and having experiences, they're worried about what's to come. They know that something's coming. Don't have huge showdowns and bottle everything up. Just, lay it all out there. That thing you're doing is annoying me. That thing you're doing has upset me. And move on. After Burning Man, you will hopefully be talking about the amazing adventures you had, all the fun things you did. But if there is anything, niggling away at you, then get it out there in the open. Don't save it up for weeks down the line. It can be hard enough coming back from Burning Man and acclimatizing to the real world without getting, hit with something that you did on day one that you didn't even realize that your partner was annoyed about. Use that long drive home to, discuss anything that you feel like needs clearing up between you. It's way better to cross that threshold back into your home as a happy couple with no issues bubbling away under the surface. So I was going to go through different types of couples that have kind of a high percentage of being hit by the curse, but then this video would take forever. So instead, you guys know your partner knows you. You probably know what kind of couple you are. If one of you is clingy, if you have jealousy issues, if one of you is very high maintenance. So, if your partner's clingy, you're probably going to want to discuss how much time you're going to spend together and how you don't want that to become an issue between you while you're there. If your partner's very high maintenance and you're worried about whether or not Burning Man's really for them or how they're going to handle the week, discuss that with them. Let them know, you're not going to have access to all these kind of luxuries that you're used to. You may not even be able to shower for a week. How are you realistically going to deal with that? If you have jealousy problems, good luck to you guys. I will do another video about choosing your campmates that could apply if you and your partner are very different, because it can be a problem. If one of you is like a day person, you want to wake up with the sun and do yoga, and your partner is a night creature and they just want to be out all night having adventures. Or if you're the kind of person that you want to do Burning Man with like cooking and cleaning and camp rotas and having everything organized, and your partner is like, no, I'll just eat beans from a can sitting on a scarf, it's fine, we don't need all this fancy stuff, then it can be a bit difficult to camp together. It's something you need to work out between you, but it can work. I am an eat beans out of a can kind of person. My partner is more of a cooking as part of the experience, and I've got to say, I do appreciate the food, but not the washing up and all the cleaning and stuff, I'll try and get that video up in the next few days. So yeah, check that one out if it's up. If you and your partner do spend quite a lot of time away from each other at Burning Man doing your own thing, and in real life you're normally together 24/7, then you will probably want to do some nice things for your partner to let them know, you love them and you're thinking of them. And it can be really simple stuff. It can be, giving each other a massage, or you have, a couple of events or workshops that are just going to be like couples time for you. You're going to go and do those things. Maybe you're going to do an art tour. Maybe you'll have a night out together. Just try and think of fun things that you and your partner can do together, or little treats that you can give your partner. You know, maybe sneak along like their favorite food that by day 3 or 4 they'll just be like, oh, I wish I had that thing, like that food or that drink, or maybe a product they use, like a moisturizer or a hair thing, or something you feel like they will really miss while they're away, that you are able to kind of surprise them with halfway through the week and be like, ta-da, best boyfriend/girlfriend ever. I really hope my boyfriend's watching this. I'll be waiting for that picnic and those treats, yeah? Be careful with setting up dates, because there can be a tendency to lose track of time at Burning Man. You know, you might have every intention of going and meeting your partner at sunset by this thing, and then you're doing something and you're having loads of fun, and suddenly you realise that you are miles away from where you need to be and the sun is going down, and your partner is probably not going to be too pleased with you about it. If your partner does that to you, try not to hold a grudge, because it's very common at Burning Man to arrange to do things with people and then to accidentally miss them. A lot of experienced burners just don't really arrange things at specific times because of that. And obviously if you stand up your partner, you know, be a bit contrite about it and be like, I'm so sorry, I was distracted doing this amazing thing, and you guys get it. Don't let that nice thing you're trying to do turn into a bad thing by messing it up. Out of all of your camp, unless you are bringing along your family or your best friends, you probably know your partner best. You are going to know if they are acting out of character. You are going to know if they are headed for some kind of meltdown. So, you know, keep an eye on each other. Make sure you are both staying hydrated. Make sure you're both eating, getting enough sleep. And if you start seeing the signs, maybe take your partner away from whatever is going on. Give them some water, get them to sit in the shade and just have a relax for a little while. The classic Burning Man cure. And hopefully that will just get them back on their feet again. People respond to Burning Man in different ways. You know, some people will just have the absolute time of their lives. And for some people, it can just be very overwhelming. And usually if you are overwhelmed, you will end up spending a lot of time either hanging out at quieter theme camps or just hanging out at your own camp. And if you're having the time of your life, you are probably going to be everywhere and anywhere. But it can be a little bit hard on couples when that happens, because you know, if you're the one that's feeling low, then you're probably going to want that support from your partner that you would usually get in the real world, where they're just going to hang out quietly with you. But it's Burning Man. If your partner is having an amazing time, they are probably not going to want to spend the week babysitting you back at camp. So, you know, if you are the low one, give your partner that freedom. Don't take away experiences from them just to have them sit at camp with you. And if you're not the low one, you know, do your best to make your partner feel loved and special and safe and secure, but don't become their babysitter. Don't make it so that you spend the whole week just sitting at camp with them when really you want to be out having experiences and doing things, because it's just going to cause resentment between you. If you or your partner or both of you have jealousy issues, you probably want to discuss that beforehand and set some boundaries, like figure out exactly what it is that's going to set your partner off and what is going to make your green-eyed monster rear its ugly head. Because it's better if you can just avoid it, especially for everyone around you that's going to have to suffer through these jealous rages. It can be very difficult for jealous couples because you are in the kind of environment where everyone is talking to everyone and people are dishing out free hugs, and there's nude people and beautiful people and exotic people, and you know, you can't always kind of control everything. You know, maybe you say, I don't want you hugging other people, it makes me uncomfortable. Maybe someone's going to come running up to your partner and give them a big old hug, and your partner had nothing to do with it. It was just a forced upon them hug. You know, maybe your partner says, I don't want you to stare at naked people, but then you see a naked person and they're juggling fire with their feet while doing a handstand and hula hooping at the same time. They just happen to be naked as well. But who wouldn't stop to look at that? Of course you'd want to see that. The person just happens to be naked, but it's kind of not that much to do with why you are staring at that person. So you guys know what I mean. You know, there's so many scenarios you could find yourself in that you just never imagined. And, you know, just try and think of the other people you're around and the people you're interacting with. You know, if you see your boyfriend and he's talking to a really hot girl, you know, don't go stomping over there and be like, get away from my boyfriend. There's no reason to get aggressive. You know, okay, maybe your boyfriend is ridiculously hot and that girl is trying her luck. But probably all it would really take is for you to go over and put your arm around your boyfriend and get involved in the conversation, and that person's going to be like, oh, they're clearly a couple. I'm going to go and try some other hot guy. I think everyone at Burning Man is a bit responsible for other people's days. Don't do things to ruin other people's days just because you have an issue or your partner has an issue or you have an issue as a couple. And that goes for your campmates especially. It sucks to be in a camp where there is drama going on. It extra sucks if it's couples drama, because couples drama tends to last the whole week. It is not something that goes away quietly, and it can make things tense and horrible for the rest of your campmates. So if you and your partner, you are kind of having rows, you're sniping at each other, you're making things really tense and uncomfortable at camp, maybe take it out on the player, go out into the distance where there's no one around and just have it out, discuss whatever it is that the problem is and try and get back to a nice place where everyone can enjoy being at your camp and, you know, everyone's not hiding all day and everyone's not like staying out of camp all day just to avoid you two. And whatever you do, don't drag your campmates into it. They are probably sick enough of the drama without you trying to drag them into your arguments. If you do start having rows, one of the best things you can do is just separate for a day or for a few hours. Give each other a chance to just cool off a bit and calm down, and then, you know, meet up later on where hopefully things are going to be a bit calmer. You've had some space and some time to think, and you can kind of discuss things reasonably. Hopefully. There is always the option to camp separately as well. If you feel like you are not a good kind of Burning Man camping match, there is nothing wrong with camping separately. Or if you thought that you would be fine and now you're there, you know, it's day 2 or 3 and you realize you guys should not be camping together, there is nothing wrong with going and finding another camp. Just chat to your partner, because if you feel like, you know, things are not going so well with you guys camping together, your partner's probably feeling the same thing. And just having space and just meeting up, you know, occasionally for adventures, it's probably going to make it more enjoyable for both of you. And it's much better to do that kind of thing before you start rowing with each other. If you do stay in the same camp and things are just going to hell, your campmates may ask for both of you or for one of you to leave so that they can have their nice happy camp back and not have to listen to you two, you know, fighting or sniping at each other. If that happens, you know that things are bad because your campmates have, you know, they have mutinied against you and they are like, one or both of you need to leave. So, you know, at that point, you guys know your partner best. You know whether, you know, that is going to spell disaster, whether you should both go and camp somewhere else together and try and save your relationship, or whether you are able to camp separately and keep the relationship alive, or whether it's time to just kind of say, see ya after Burning Man when maybe we'll work this stuff out. I would say if that happens, you should respect your campmates' wishes. It's never easy to ask, you know, campmates to leave camp. So things must be pretty bad if that's happening. You know, discuss with your partner what that means for your relationship. Like, are you still a couple that are going to be meeting up in the day, or is it just like done and dusted? Is it something you're going to deal with when you get back? Like, you guys know what it means for your relationships. But if you're at the point where you're having to separate because you're just unbearable to be around as a couple, then it might be a bit hard to kind of bring it back from there. Sex is another thing that you're probably going to want to talk about beforehand. If you've never been before and you're still kind of thinking that just everyone's having sex with everyone there, that's not what it's like. But things are a bit more open. You know, you have like tents and workshops and things like that. There's more on offer than what you would have in your real life. You know, and hopefully you're both going to be on the same page with it when you talk about it. But, you know, sometimes couples are in completely different books. Like, maybe one of you is like, I want to stay completely monogamous, and the other one is like, I want to have an orgy. It's a tough one, and it's better to know that and have worked that out before you get to Burning Man. You do not want to be in the situation where you're at Burning Man and your partner comes up to you with someone and they're like, hey, I want to have a threesome. Are you up for it? And you're like, I'm drunk, and the person's standing right there. I'm not in like I cannot make a reasonable decision at this moment in time, like a snap decision like that. Take some time to think about it. Don't agree with anything that you are not 100% comfortable with. You know, you don't want to agree to something and then your partner does it and then you decide that actually you are not okay with that thing. And now it's this huge thing that is potentially threatening your relationship. You know, and don't try and pressure your partner to be okay with something that they're not okay with either. Set some boundaries on, you know, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, and work from there. You know, usually for couples, if they're not entirely on the same page, it's not like the person that wants something out of the ordinary is like, I have to have this thing. Maybe they're just like, if the opportunity came up, I wouldn't mind doing that, but they're not like dead set on it. If you say like, no, I would be really uncomfortable with that. For most couples, the other person's going to be like, yeah, it was just kind of a fantasy. It's, I wouldn't risk our relationship over it. I think one of the biggest problems at Burning Man is that couples can kind of resent each other. If you're the kind of couple where you are clingy or you want to spend 24 hours a day together, then you could find that, your partner wants to do one thing and you want to do a completely different thing. And instead of just doing those things separately, you're trying to force one of you to give up the thing that they want to do. You're taking away experiences from each other. And that can lead to resentment. Especially if it feels very uneven, if it's like one of you that is very much steering the ship and the other one is just along for the ride. Or it could be smaller things. Maybe you're in a camp and everyone is a really good friend of yours and your partner doesn't really know anyone and you're not taking that time to make sure they feel included. You're not making sure that they're introduced to everyone, and because, they're like, hey, we came here together and now you're just completely ignoring me. It's like I don't exist. So, just be considerate of each other. Make sure you're not stopping them from experiencing things that they want to or forcing them to do things that they don't really want to do. Maybe my boyfriend wants to go in the Thunderdome, but I don't. But I wouldn't stop him from doing it. I'd probably go and watch, actually. But you guys know what I mean. You're a couple, but you're also individuals with your own interests, your own wants and desires, and, you need that individuality as well. Just in case I forgot to mention it anywhere else in the video, because I've forgotten what I said, hydration and shade are your best friends. If your partner is acting a bit crazy or grouchy, they may just need some water and some shade, maybe a nap. The Burning Man cure for a bad mood or pretty much anything except play a foot. So that's going to be like step one in diffusing a situation is shade and water. And also, if you see other Burning Man couples that look like they're headed for a fight, try and kind of get them to sit in the shade and have some water first, and you might find that you have just saved a relationship just by hydrating a couple. So I know that for some of you watching this, you're probably like, wow, making a big deal out of nothing. Like if these couples couldn't survive for a week in the desert, then, there was obviously huge problems in the relationship in the first place. But once you get out there and witness it or experience it for yourself, if you're unlucky, then you'll understand the relationship curse of Burning Man. So any couples heading out, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you have an amazing time. I hope that you come out of it stronger and happier than you have ever been before. And if any of you guys have any tips or suggestions or ideas of nice things to do for your partner or how to survive as a couple, let us know in the comment section below. And as always, if you see me at Burning Man this year, feel free to come and say hi to me. Bye guys!